Hello, sixth graders. It's Mr. Gardell. Aren't you happy to hear me again? Alrighty, so we're going to get started with something hilarious, something that's going to make you laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. It, of course, is another joke by Mr. Gardell. All right, let's get started. Here's the joke for the day. Why do eggs hate jokes? What? Who the heck would hate jokes? Why do eggs hate jokes? I will give you 5 seconds starting now. All right, time is up. Why do eggs hate jokes? Because they crack up. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I want you to focus today, right now, on this painting. It's a painting of a battle that took place during the Civil War, specifically in 1863, even more specifically on July 1st, July 2nd, and July 3rd. And don't just look at the big picture. Look at the smaller details, like this guy right here. What flag is he holding up? So what would that mean? He's, of course, holding up a Union or Northern flag, okay, our U.S. flag. And he is wearing a navy blue top. In the background, you can faintly see through the gun smoke a Confederate flag or a flag from the South. That individual, although we can't see it, would be wearing their top as gray. So the Union or the North wore navy blue tops as their uniform, and the Southern or the Confederate troops wore gray as part of their uniform. And so this was an important battle for many reasons, but what most, or a lot of people, I should say, remember this battle by is the number of casualties. It's crazy to think that over a 3-day period, there were this many casualties. And I'll let you look at the numbers. I'm not going to read those numbers off for you, but I just wanted you to know a little bit more about the Battle of Gettysburg. It was a very fierce battle, one that some would say was looked at as a little bit of a turning point for the Union. All right, so we're going to move on because Gettysburg will come up in Soldier's Heart, and we'll get to Soldier's Heart in a moment. But I want to also refocus on the Civil War in general, and just to kind of go back as a refresher, remember this flag represents the Union or the North. This flag represents the South or the Confederacy. This is when the war took place, from April 12th of 1861 through April 9th of 1865. So in other words, the Battle of Gettysburg took part about, or occurred about in the middle of the Civil War. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Yesterday, we focused and talked a little bit about the number of people who lost their life during the Civil War, about 620,000 people. Huge number. Just I can't believe that many people died during the Civil War. But when you stop and think about what the Civil War means, then maybe it gets you to better understand why there's so many casualties and deaths. So what does Civil War mean? You were asked to do that recently in a learning activity. Civil War simply means a war between citizens of the same country. In other words, Americans fighting, killing, injuring Americans. Doesn't that sound silly? That's what Civil War is. And if we go back to that 620,000 number, I found this at some point in time. But when you take a look at the battles of the Civil War, look at the Battle of Gettysburg. The most casualties of any battle took place during that battle. And if we focus just on wars in general, okay, look at the number of casualties or deaths in the Civil War versus other wars like World War II or even World War I. So again, just to kind of give you some perspective that there was a lot of casualties and deaths during the Civil War. All right, so let's continue forward and focus the next couple of minutes on our vocabulary terms. And what I would encourage you to do is to have your terms out, okay? And if that means you have to pause the video to pull back up your vocabulary terms, I want you to get more and more in the habit of taking the definitions to each of these terms and putting them in your own words. If you can come up with or improve that skill of putting things into your own words, like the definitions to terms in social studies, wow, you're going to be outstanding down the road with putting things in your own words when it comes to writing on anything for that matter. So keep up the good work. Keep putting forth your best effort. All right, let's scroll along. Abolitionist is someone who wants to end slavery. So if you hear of somebody stating, I'm an abolitionist, they just simply want slavery to end. They don't want it to exist anymore. Secede, it's not succeed, okay, two different words. Secede simply means to withdraw from an organization or a country. And these states, okay, and there was 11 of them down in the south or southeastern part of present-day U.S., they wanted to secede or withdraw from the United States of America. The president at the time, Abraham Lincoln, said, no way is that happening. The Union is represented by the states that you see in light blue. The states that you see in, or the territories that you see in dark blue, just simply represent that these territories were also part of the Union, but at that time they weren't officially states within the United States of America. So Union is simply the United States of America, often in reference to the northern states during the Civil War. Okay, so again, the Union, all of these states and territories made up the Union. These states down in gray are the Confederate States, or to give you a better view of all of this, okay, the Confederacy is the 11 southern states that seceded or withdrew from the Union during the Civil War. Or that's what they at least claim they were doing. We're going to secede. We're going to form our own country. We're going to call it the Confederate States of America, and we will be our own separate country because we want this and we want that. And the Union is like, oh, heck no. And obviously some big issue, okay, cause came about that basically got these two to fight against each other during a 4-year war, during obviously called the Civil War. All right, so again, these 11 states that you see in yellow are the Confederate states. The Emancipation Proclamation just simply was an order issued by the U.S. President Abraham Lincoln at the time on January 1st of 1863 that announced that all enslaved people in the Confederate States, or those yellow states that I just showed you, are now free. In other words, they are no longer slaves. Okay? They are free to leave and go and do what they please. Question is, where would slaves go? What would they do? And so the Emancipation Proclamation is something huge within our country's history, and Lincoln is well known for it. But think beyond the Emancipation Proclamation. Imagine, okay, slaves now being told that they could be set free and are able to be freed. But in their minds, were they wondering? Where would I go? What would I do? Amendment is simply a change to a government process or document. We'll talk more about 3 amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments down the road. And that is our terms for Chapter 8. There weren't that many terms, but become familiar with them. The last thing that I want to focus on is Chapter 1. Kind of review it real quick and kind of remind you or refresh your memory of what you're doing for your summaries. So again, you should have by now listened to or read the forward section. Did not need to include a summary. And then you should have also read or had read to you Chapter 1, which is titled June of 1861. And really what I want you to focus on for your summaries is, what are the main or central ideas? What are the characters that are introduced to us during that chapter? The setting or where the story takes place? And is there any conflict or struggles that a character or more characters are having with each other throughout the chapter? And so when I think of Chapter 1, the first person I think of for a character is Charlie Goddard. Okay, he's our main character. What's Charlie's dilemma? What does he want to do? Yeah, he wants to enlist. He wants to go fight in the Civil War. But what's the problem? He's 15 years old. Think about it. 15 years old? That's like a ninth grader in high school. And Charlie says, I want to go sign up and enlist in the Civil War. And his mom is conflicted, but in the end, Charlie gets his way. So here's Charlie, a 15-year-old from Winona, Minnesota, and he's going to walk to Fort Snelling. By the way, from Fort Snelling to Winona by car, I don't know. I didn't look it up exactly. I would say approximately 2 hours. Can you imagine doing that by foot? But that's what Charlie did. So Charlie was going to walk to Fort Snelling where he would enlist in the Civil War and become a soldier and become a part of this now infamous war that we all know about, known as the Civil War. And so Charlie was very courageous, he was brave, and he wanted to go prove himself that he was a man and that he could do this. But what he didn't know is the unknowns. And so as you continue to read each of the chapters through Soldier's Heart, okay, think about the decision that Charlie made in chapter 1, right? At 15 years old, he's making the decision that he wants to enlist. What would Charlie's life been like if he had not enlisted? All right, I'll stop there. I don't want to give anything away. Okay, obviously this week you'll read 3 or 4 additional chapters in Soldier's Heart. Enjoy it. It is truly a very, very good book. I absolutely enjoy reading it every year. In fact, I just reread chapter 1 not that long ago. All right, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or reach out to your HOA teacher. Take care and have a great day.